Hello, welcome back to another episode of Life Isn't Over Yet. Today, I want to talk about symbolism, goddess energy, and something that happened to me last night. And hopefully, it will share some light on how you're not on this journey alone and you are always receiving messages. I want to begin with um, as you know, astrologically, Venus, for my last video, I talk about Venus going direct and the Libra full moon and how the energy of that full moon was for us to really go inwards and step into our self worth. Well, we also have a new moon coming up in Taurus. And Taurus's energy is very sensual, grounded. It's an earth sign. But not only that, Taurus's natural placement is the second house. And the second house is about the material world, material possessions, as well as your self worth, your value. I often talk about being a high value woman. And being a high value woman is following the three P's. And those three P's are priority, purpose, and perception. Because when you make yourself a priority and you follow your purpose and you work on your mindset to change your perception, looking at things from a different perspective, you're able to step into owning who you are, remembering who you are. Now, energetically, we are feeling this at this time. There's definitely a rise in the divine feminine energy, and I always feel like her energy is potent around spring because, after all, spring is about a rebirth. And there is a lot of motherly energy around us right now, and remembering the value of the divine feminine. And I work with goddesses that come to me. And so when I began this journey, I was working with the moon's energy. And at that time, I wasn't really into goddess energy. I just fell in love with the cyclical nature of the moon phases. And then I was approached by Goddess Ishtar in a meditation. I never heard of Goddess Ishtar before, but she came to me as the orange flame during a meditation, and then during a dream as the eight-pointed star. And that's when I began my journey with becoming aware of the feminine essence and the goddess energy that has been erased from ancient history, because we live in a patriarchal society and religion wanted to remove the matriarch out of the books. And with my, diving into it more, I realized that Goddess Ishtar represented Venus, which goes back to this Taurus new moon, which is ruled by Venus, and Venus is going direct. So, this again, it's this feminine, divine feminine energy, stepping into your worth, becoming a high value woman. I know that sometimes I might repeat myself, but I will tell you this, that when you are on purpose, whatever direction you are to go in, it does not let up. It always comes back. The energy always comes back. Even with me talking about the moon phases, because when I was talking about in my last video or my last podcast, I was talking about how we move in a windy way. It's not a straight and narrow path. And along the way, we pick up skills, we pick up teachings, we we like shed layers about ourselves, and we step into a rebirth of our own, a metamorphosis, if you will. And that energy is very potent right now with Pluto being in Aquarius, because we are transforming the old ways into the new. And so if you want to know how the goddess energy approaches you, it can be through symbolism. So even during a meditation, I was presented a key, and the key represents Hecate because that's one of her symbols, our keys. And so it's not always, I'm going to share a story with you about a dream that I had last night, but not always she will show up as herself. It's more symbolism connected to her energy. So, like I said, when I was working with the moon, when that's what I was guided to at first, and didn't know anything about goddess energy, and then I realized that goddess Selene is who represents the moon. But then there's other goddesses like Hecate. Hecate is the triple goddess. She is the maiden mother crone. And I happen to be in my crone era. And that's where I think that I've been guided back to our infinite nature, our infinite divine nature. And I talk about these things so that we can connect back to our nature. And the moon phases will guide you there when you start looking at your life as more cyclical. But it could be during a dream. It could be where you're walking in nature and you just get a download. It could be a video you come across. Um, anything. So you could hear somebody, talking about, hear a name that might resonate with you. And because there's the resonance, you'll know that that goddess wants to work with you. But like I said, you could be walking and you find a key, and that's a symbolism. Or birds are very significant when a goddess wants to work with you. Um, and just things and treasures that you find along the way. Mary Magdalene came through for me. It was last year during this time because of Easter. And what she showed me is because, again, I talk about the moon and I was guided to the stars. And what she showed me is like, I'm not religious, so don't come at me. But what she showed me is that there is a scripture in the Bible that talks about Mary looking up and the round stone moved away from the tomb and he rose again. Um, what I received from that, because of the journey that I've been on, as the round stone was the moon, it was an eclipse, and the round stone moved away from the sun and he rose again. Take with it as you will. I'm just talking about the journey I've been on and what the downloads I'm receiving and what I'm being guided to learn. And I'm just open. I'm open to whatever comes my way as far as a teaching to expand my search for meaning of why we're here, why we're going through what we're going through at this time, what is the symbolism behind it. So pay attention to what comes in your dream. Like once I had a dream about Stella. Stella kept coming in, and I was thinking it was literally somebody named Stella, but Stella means star. So I was always guided to work with the stars. And even though the moon and the sun are part of, the the star system, but they're considered to be luminaries. And so that took me on this journey of discovering myself and discovering my essence and where I need to be more in flow and how we are so out of alignment. And that brings me to the 13 moons. So the Mayans used to follow a calendar of the 13 moons. And 13, um, if you take 28 days and times it by 13, you'll get the amount of days in a year. And so they don't follow the months. They follow the lunar phases, the 13 moons. And even when you look at the Gregorian calendar, it's out of sync because when you look at September, it's the ninth month, but sept means seven. When you look at October, it's the 10th month, but oct means eight. When you look at December, it's the 12th month, but dece means 10. So it creates this disconnection to our natural flow. And farmers have always used the moon cycle for when they're planting because it is cyclical. It gets you closer to nature. It makes you feel more in tune with your daily life. And so I'm talking about this again because I always mention whatever prominent moon phase is happening, full moons, new moons, and then I talk about, certain transits that are important in my in my recordings. And I want to talk about what just happened with this shuttle, this rocket going up with six women and symbolism. So the number six represents the divine feminine. And I look at patterns. That's how my brain works. I look at patterns, I put the pieces together, I look at the symbolism, I find what the relation is and what the hidden message is. And what I got from it, and take from it what you will, we had this phallic rocket with six women fully, they got these custom outfits made, full face of makeup. It was like a girly girl thing. Six represents the divine feminine. The launch was on the 14th of April, which has a religious, I think it's the end of Passover, and it represents new beginnings. It's also in Aries, and Aries is like that war, that fiery energy. So I took all of those pieces, and it's like I feel like this collective knows that the divine feminine is rising, and so they're trying to portray that they're current and they are um, in support of this. And let's take these six women but it's like, but it's under our terms because you're going to be in this, phallic vehicle to take you up and we're giving you permission to go up there, right? It's still going to be under our domain of how. And not saying, I mean, I know rockets, they're the shape that they are, but there was a lot of symbolism. And why do it then at that time? What was the meaning of that day? And why did it have to be six women is where I was looking at it. And so that goes back to symbolism being so important to be aware of the symbols that cross your path because those are your breadcrumbs. And when you're not in the present moment, you miss the breadcrumbs, not only what are here to show you something about your journey, your path, your clues, but also what is happening around you. And when we get distracted, we pay attention to other things. So maybe this rocket ship It maybe has nothing to do with the divine feminine rising, ascending. Maybe it was a distraction for other things that are going on in the world. So we can just, look at how fabulous this other side is. There's always this smoke and mirrors. I feel like there's always smoke and mirrors, and you've got to learn how to read the room. You've got to learn how to read the symbolism and what is behind it. And that's really important in the process when you're working with goddess energy. Goddess energy is really important when you want to step into that high value woman era. And in other videos, I talk about what that means to be a high value woman. But also in my last video, I shared about Venus and how to set up an altar so that you can have this daily connection to your feminine essence. So I want to talk about a dream that I had last night with pertaining to goddess energy. And I dreamt that I was living in a three-story building that was a warehouse. And when I went to the third floor of this warehouse, there were three bathtubs in this warehouse. Two of them were in one area, and then there was another in an alcove. The two that were visible were clawfoot tubs, and the other one was a standard bathtub. Um, And then I noticed to the left of me, there was one of those lifts in a warehouse that's like an elevator. And they had converted it into a window. Now, remember, I was picking up on all the details. This is a dream. And I was picking up on all the details. And this place was decorated beautifully for a warehouse. And I was living there. So I go over to the window, and that was converted. It was this lift that was converted to a window. And it was very dark because the window faced another warehouse, another building. And then right between the two buildings, there was this narrow alleyway. But at the end of the alleyway, you could see light shining through. You could see the sky, you could see that it was daytime. But when you looked straight ahead, it was darkness. And when I looked up, I saw another converted window that, was the elevator was turned into a window, and I was looking into someone's room, and there was a man in there in his living room doing something. Building something. I don't know what he was doing. Again, it was a dream. And then I looked the other direction and I saw someone's bedroom. And then it kind of freaked me out because I was like, oh, if I can see them, they can see me. I can't take a bath in this first bathtub. I need to go to the second one where you can't see me. And I turned the water on to fill it. I left the room and then I realized that, oh, shoot, I forgot that this bathtub is filling. So I went, and it had shut off by itself, but it was overflowing. And I quickly grabbed towels and blankets or whatever was around me, trying to sop up the water because I didn't want it to leak from underneath, leak underneath. Um, and then the second level was like the bedrooms. And I remember being in the bedroom, and then all of a sudden there was a presence there. And this presence was very motherly and nurturing and wise, like a wise woman. And I never saw this person this time because usually I have symbols when a goddess approaches me. Usually it is symbolisms like the red flame or the orange flame or the eight-pointed star or a key. And this time it was a physical person. And I could see the shadow. I wasn't able to see her face, but I could see the shadow of her. And she had dark skin. She was wearing a long gown, and the word that popped in was dashiki, which is like an African garment. And I could see that it had, the African print around the neck, like a ethnic print around the neck. And I couldn't tell with her hair. It looked like, at first it looked like she had a short afro, or maybe her hair was wrapped in a turban or a wrapping. And she was standing next to this golden globe, which looked like the sun. And her presence was very mothering, and she was guiding me towards the light. And she was sharing her wisdom. I felt like I was in the presence of a sage, and she was sharing her wisdom with me. I don't remember what she was sharing with me, but I know that I felt safe with her. So when I woke up, I was like, okay, I like to analyze my dreams and the symbolisms. So there were 3 floors, 3 bathtubs, and also, um, threes are creative energy, giving birth, it's creativity. It's also the Empress in Tarot, even with the rocket ship and the ascension. And so it was something about ascending, enlightenment because of this narrow um, alleyway, the light. There was something around being caught in the darkness and watching other people live their lives, which I feel like that's kind of what we do when we're on social media and we forget about living our life. And then the water, the symbolism of the water, because water represents your emotions, and there was an overflow, and I was trying to contain the emotions that were overspilling. So I started, because I remember the garment. So I Googled, dashiki because that's what came up. And then it showed that it was a West Indies or West African garment. And then I searched the goddess, like what goddess is worshipped in that culture that would wear like a dashiki from the West Indies or West Africa. And the goddess that I came to was Mawu, Mawu. And she happens to be the goddess of the moon. And she also has her counterpart, which was named Lisa, which represented the sun. And so here it was, she's also known as the cosmic goddess and our cosmic mother. And she has that mothering energy, just like the moon. The moon's energy is mothering. It rules the fourth house of Cancer. And the moon, represents Cancer. And so it was this loving motherly energy and about this ascension that's happening, and that we are rising. The divine feminine is rising. And I've never worked. I didn't know anything about Mawu. So I'm doing, some reach. I do work with the moon's energy. So I guess there's just another representation of working with the moon, but I'm going to find out more. And if you know anything about the goddess Mawu, please, put it down in the comment, because she came to me for a reason, but it's like being a guide, being the guide of the light, the moon, and again, it goes back to what's happening right now, this time. Um, Not only this time, but like with he has risen, like I was talking about the eclipse, and the moon moving away from this, because it says this round circle, this stone, the round stone moved away from the tomb and he rose again. And so that stuck with me. And that's where she was showing me. She was standing near, like the sun is rising again. And there's a lot of, metaphors there, as well as symbolism. And I wanted to share that with you, being that Sunday, Easter is celebrated on Sunday, and the messages that were coming in for me right now. And I would love for you to leave me a comment if you know anything about this goddess, or if you are working with goddess energy, or if you've experienced some kind of symbolism that has come that is showing you that um, the goddess is ready to work with you. Because even I've worked with Mary Magdalene when I was talking about how I was shown about the stone. But not only that, I like to thrift, and I came across these two beautiful images of Mary, and they were from Italy with these beautiful antique iron frames. And I put one of those on my altar because I knew she wanted to work with me. So this is very much motherly energy, the moon, and maybe I'm supposed to be your mother, guiding you, sharing this experience during this time of uncertainty. Maybe that's what this is all about. I'm putting the pieces together as I go along. But I like to share this information with you in case you're feeling lost, or you're wondering like what is going on. And I feel like we're all in this liminal space right now because there is so much uncertainty. But it's to get us back to connecting back with nature and following the cyclical nature of who we are. And, we have those 28 days in every moon cycle. And not only thinking of 13, 13 is three is, it's another three. But if you condense the one and three, it's four. And four represents the fourth house of home, which is Cancer, which the moon rules Cancer. So all of it is just connected. Okay. Nothing is coincidence. Everything is telling you a story. You just have to be able to see the signs and the symbols. But I would like to really go deeper with goddess energy and working with goddess, and I'll let you know in the next podcast what comes up with the goddess Mawu. Um, and then if you would enjoy this, if you want to dive deeper in working with goddess energy, leave me a comment down below. Um, and we can go deeper on this. But enjoy your weekend, and that's all I have for you today. And I will see you next time.